Welcome to our third video in the Craft of Crocheting series. In the first two videos we had an introduction to the different types, weights, and ply of yarn, how to read a yarn label, and the different types of crochet hooks and equipment that you need. And in the second video we learned the basic crochet stitches that you will use all the time, and those were the beginning chain, single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, treble crochet. We learned how to decrease across the row, how to increase, and finally the slip stitch. Today we're going to learn some different stitches that show patterns on the front side of your piece that you're crocheting. These are the front loop, back loop, front post, back post stitches, and then we're going to do the V-stitch, which makes a nice sort of lace design, and we'll finish up with the Picot stitch, which is usually done around the edges to just make the edges a little fancier. So let's get started. I've already done my chain and 2 rows of double crochet. This just is going to make it easier for me to hold on to the piece as I crochet. As you can see here on the top, these are your loops, front and back loop, and these are your posts, and we'll go around those in our post loop. One thing I forgot to mention in my other video, we talked about gauge, but we didn't talk about the front and the back side of your crochet piece. Usually your front side is your first row of crocheting, not your chain, but whatever you crocheted for the first row. It's probably a good idea to mark that row until you learn to recognize the front. I have a little safety pin, and if you just put that through one of the stitches of your first row, and then that will mark this is your front side. You can also take a little piece of yarn and also put that in there with a needle. Just put one little loop in it and use that as well. So if you remember, when we double crochet, you can go in the front loop, or you can do that with a single crochet, but we're going to do double crochet today. When you do the post stitches, you can only do that with double or treble because you need that post. So we chain 2 at the end and turn. That gives you the height for your double crochet, and then if you remember, you wrap, and you usually go through both of these loops in a regular crochet in this little space, but today we're only going to go through that front one. And as we always do, you skip that first double crochet because your chain is your double crochet. So now we're in that front loop. You're going to hook that yarn and then hook through 2, and this is our regular double crochet, hook in through 2. So you wrap your yarn, we're just going through that front loop, and you hook it, bring it through, and through 2, hook through 2. So if your loop happens to stretch like that, don't worry about it. It'll work its way back in evenly when you're done. So now we're just doing double crochets in that front loop only. And so again, you wrap it, go in that front loop only, pick up the thread, and through 2, hook it through 2. And so you just continue to do that across your row. And I'm going to show you this one more time, so I am going a little fast here, I know, but we'll get across this row. And then the last one is going to go in your chain space. This is the back side of our piece. I should have done that on, and you can see a little bit here on the front side, there's your design. So I'm going to turn that, and because we don't want that to go on the back side of our piece, I'm just going to do regular double crochets across. Now I'm going in each of those 2 loops, front and back. That's your regular double crochet. And bear with me while I get across this row. And the reason for that is there's no need for this design to be on the back of your piece. And most patterns will instruct you to do that front loop stitch on every other row. So again, let me show you the double crochet just for a refresher. Wrap it around under the 2 loops, bring it through 2 through 2. And so we'll just do that across, and then in our last chain. All right, so now we'll do that one more time. So we are going to skip the first one and go in the front loop. And then just do a regular double crochet, but we're only going in that front loop. So you're coming in that front loop only and just doing the double crochet. Front loop only. And if you get confused as to which loop to go in here, because there is this loop here, if you hold your stitch, hold your thing like this, you can see those 2 loops. So you want to make sure you get that front loop. So yarn over in the front loop only, catch it, through 2, through 2. Yarn over, front loop only, through 2 and through 2. Now you don't have to worry about really doing that in the chain. You could, if you wanted, just pick up that first chain. So now you can see on this side, here's our 2 little patterns. And they're not really raised, but they do look a little different than just the regular double crochet. So now I'm just going to show you a close-up of what we just did. And I've chained 2 and turned, and that brings us up to our height for our double crochet. So you hook it, and then I'm going through this front loop only. I know that's hard to see with that stitch right there, but oh, come on. And then you're just doing a regular double crochet, bringing it through, hook it through 2, through 2. And then again, right in that first loop, and a regular double crochet. And then just let me show you those loops. This is your front loop and your back loop. So go in that front loop only and do a regular double crochet. And then there is the little design that it makes on the piece. So now we're going to do the back loop stitch, and because we're double crocheting, we chain 2 and turn, and then we are going to skip the first thing because our chain is that stitch, wrap the yarn and go into this, it's probably hard to see, this back loop here. And then just do a regular double crochet. So wrap the yarn, go in this back loop here, and bring it through 2, through 2. Back loop, and through 2, through 2. Just doing a regular double crochet in these stitches, but working in only the back loop. Side, I'm going to just do regular double crochets across here, which is the 2 loops. And again, most of your patterns will give you that instruction to do that. So let me show you again. I'm going fast, I know. Into the back loop, and then just your regular double crochet, wrap, back loop, and regular double crochet, back loop. So now you can see that it gives a more of a raised look. So that's a little more of a design showing than the front loop. So now we're going to do a close-up of the back loop stitch, and I've chained 2, and we're just going to do a regular double crochet into this back loop. And then just do your regular crochet, wrap it in that back loop. See the raised design that would show on your piece. And that's the back loop stitch. So now we're going to do a front post stitch, and so I've chained 2 here for our double crochet. Now we're going to go around this thing right here called the post of the double crochet or treble crochet. So we're just going to do a regular double crochet, so we wrap it around. Now we're going in here, around the back, and coming out the other side. And then we are going to hook this and bring it through, pull it up a little bit because you want to get up to the height, and then just do your regular double crochet. So again, we're going to wrap it. We're going in and around the back of this so that your yarn comes around the front. You're picking it up and bringing it towards the back and pulling it up, and then you do your regular double crochet. So again, you're wrapping it, you're going in and around that post, bring your yarn over and up, and then finish your double crochet. And this is a front post stitch, because your yarn is going around the front of the post. When we come around here, you can see it's in front of that post. So you pull it up a little bit so it's up level with your row, and then just do your 2 double crochets. So again, around the post, and you're pulling it up. And then that's giving us a little raised thing on this side, which I will show you. Now I'm just going to double crochet back across. And it shows well on this one because, as you can see, we need that double crochet row in order to have our posts. So I'm just going to do a regular double crochet across this row. All right, and then we chain 2 to begin our next row, turn, and now we're going to go around that post again. Okay, so we're going in and around that front post. Your yarn comes in front of it, grab it, you want to lift it up a little bit, and then just finish your double crochet. So we're going in and around that post, yarn comes in front, and then finish your double crochet. front post stitch, and as you can see, that's a little bit higher than the other stitches that we did. Somewhat similar to a cable stitch, even though it's not as fancy, but it gives you a little decoration or a little more intrigue to your crochet piece. And that's the front post stitch. So I've chained 2 and turned my piece, and we're gonna wrap. We're doing the back post, so we're bringing it to the back, coming around that post. You're picking up the thread and bringing it through the front and up around the back, and then you're lifting it. And then you just continue those last 2 stitches of your double crochet. So wrap it, you come from the front of the post to the back, pick up that thread, bring it through, and then bring it up here. So you wrap it, come around, and then go there. You're picking up your thread in the back, it's coming around that post, and then you're bringing it up here in the back. Let's see if I can show that really. So you're coming around this post and coming to the back, you're picking up that thread and you're bringing it around that post in the front, and then you might turn your hook a little bit here to keep it on, pull it up, and then do your last 2 stitches of your double crochet. So you're coming in from the back to the back of the post, around grabbing that thread and bringing it, it's coming through that, back through that other hole, and then you're just pulling it up there and doing your last 2 stitches of your double crochet. So wrap, come through here, go through there, pick up that yarn, it's coming over the front of that post, and then back around and up through there. So we're coming here and there, picking up that yarn, coming across the front and in through the back and pulling it up, and then the last 2 parts of the double crochet. So around, picking it up, coming through there, and then up here and there, and then we're just going to do that around the chain 2 at the end. So that is your back post stitch, and again that gives you a raised, here's our front post one and our back post one. It's got a little more of detail along here as compared to your front post, but that's your back post stitch. So now we're going to do what they call a V-stitch, and we're going to do that with double crochet. So I've done my 2 chains and I've turned, and then we normally skip this in double crocheting, but we're going to put an extra stitch here that kind of just goes along with the pattern on the edge. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches, and I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do a double crochet in this stitch here, the 3rd one over. And we are going to do a regular double crochet, 2 of them. And then we are going to chain 1 and then do 2 more double crochets in this same stitch. And then we are going to, because as you can see now, it's called a V-stitch because of this here, looking like an upside down V. And because we've put extra stitches in here, we are going to chain 2 and skip 2, and then we're going to do another V-stitch here. So that is just 2 regular double crochets, and then a chain 1 and 2 more double crochets. Most of the time it's 2 double crochets. The pattern may be different. Maybe they might say do 3 double crochets and then a chain, but normally it's 2. And then you skip 2, and at the end here we are going to do 2 double crochets in this last chain 2 space, and that just evens out the row. So as you can see, we have 2 what they call V-stitches, and normally you have 2 double crochets on the edge. So then we will go and chain 2, come across. Now we're going to just do 1 double crochet in each of these 2 double crochets here, because we don't want to increase our stitches anymore. And then we are going to chain 1, 2, and then in this space here, which was our V, we are going to do again another V-stitch. I'm going on my second row, and I've done my 2 chains. So we're going to double crochet in both, just 1 double crochet in these first 2 double crochets here. And then we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a V-stitch in this V space right here. So you're just going to do 2 regular double crochets, and then a chain, and 2 more double crochets again in this V-stitch space here. So we've got 2 double crochets, and 1 chain, and then 2 more double crochets, and that is our V-stitch. And then we will chain 1 and go in our last double crochet and our turning chain space. And so that is your V-stitch, and it gives you a nice little sort of lacy look. It gives you an idea of what the V-stitch is, and then you would just continue in this pattern all the way up. This is nice for scarves or maybe lacy curtains. Just makes a nice little design. And that's our V-stitch. So our final stitch today is the Picot stitch, and I'm going to single crochet, so I'm only chaining 1 and turning. And if you remember, our single crochets are, you just insert, no wrapping around with the yarn, bring it through, hook it, come through 2, bring it through, hook it, come through 2. So then we're going to do the Picot stitch here. And so we're going to chain 3, and then you're going to put your hook in this space of the first chain. You're going to hook it, and then you're going to bring it straight through, which is our slip stitch. And then you would continue to single crochet from there on. I'm going to single crochet 2, and then we will single crochet in this space and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're inserting our hook in this 1 loop here of the bottom chain. Hook it, bring it through, and then bring it through that stitch, which is our slip stitch. And then we'll continue to single crochet for 2, and then we will do the last single crochet here and chain 1, 2, 3, and then put your hook in this front loop of the first chain, hook your yarn, and then bring it through that, and then I'm just going to single crochet in this last chain space. And so that's giving us this little bump here, which is called the Picot stitch. A lot of times this is done with the thread cotton for a fancy edge, if you will, for like doilies or tablecloths, just to give it a fancy edge. So we're going to be single crocheting. So I did a 1 chain and I've turned, and now we're going to single crochet 2, and then on the third one, after we single crochet, we are going to chain 3, and then on this first chain you're just going to go in this 1 loop right here in the front and pick up your yarn and then bring it through that stitch on the hook, and that's called a slip stitch at the end that we did. So then we're back to single crocheting for a couple of stitches, and then we will do 1 more, and then you chain 3 and put your hook in the first chain, this 1 little loop in the front here. Hook your yarn, bring it through. It helps sometimes to push that on your hook so that this comes through smoothly, and then that's it. That's your picot stitch. Just gives it something a little bit more on the edge to make your piece look a little fancier. Usually on the thread cotton it'll have a little more of a peak here when you do it, because this yarn is so thick. It's not quite as pointed, and that's your picot stitch. Weave in your ends when you're done with your piece. So now on the back side of our project here, we want to weave these ends in. So this is where your large eye needle comes in. It helps if you press this and push it through there. Sometimes you have to wet your fingers to do that. But then you're just going to use the needle to weave this in through these stitches, just so that it's gets caught in here so it doesn't unravel, and then just pull it through. I sometimes like to maybe go in a different direction. I know some people catch their yarn when they're doing it. You just got to make sure it doesn't show on the other side when you're doing that. But you just weave that through those stitches, and then I like to stretch it a little bit to make sure that that's not too short, and then you cut that off, and that's how you weave it in. And then you would do the same thing on this end as well, weave that end in, and then you would have your finished product without the ends, and it looked. So that's how you finish your piece. So I just wanted to show you an example of some of the stitches that we have learned over the course of the 2 videos. These are our single crochet stitches here, and we have a couple row of half double crochet stitches, and then a couple rows of double crochet, and then treble. We have 3 rows of the treble crochet. Now here's where we did our front loop stitch. You can see the little raised pattern there. This is our back loop stitch. Again, a little more raised pattern. And then this is our front post stitch here, and our back post stitch. And then in this we decreased across the row for 2 rows, and then we increased across for 2 rows. And then we, at the very end, we did the slip stitch across to finish it off. So those are the stitches we have learned, except for the picot stitch, which we did this time around, which goes on the end. That's all for today, but in our next video I'd like to show how to crochet in the round. You do that to make hats. Sometimes mittens and socks are done in the round, so we'll learn how to do that. I'd also like to show you how to crochet around the edge of a rectangular or square piece. Normally you would do single crochets around them. Just gives it a better looking edge than just the end of your crochet, you know, here. So that's what we'll be doing next time. And I hope you will join us. And thanks for watching today.